The Knicks put in a bid to acquire Alex Caruso before he went to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Kenny Smith gives Julius Randle high praise. All that and much more on the Knicks Digest. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel from Knicks Digest. Let's get right into today's video. So, it's been reported earlier today the Knicks made an aggressive push to acquire Alex Caruso before he was traded to the Thunder. The New York Knicks and Sacramento Kings both offered draft capital to the Bulls in packages they felt were superior to the one-for-one deal. Now, this is very interesting because a quote from the article said that the Knicks offered draft capital to the Bulls. It just says draft capital. It doesn't mention anything about a particular player or anything like that. So, seeing how the Knicks have an abundance of first-round picks moving forward, I do wonder which player the Knicks kind of threw in the trade for Alex Caruso. And Alex Caruso, ever since he won the championship in the bubble with the Lakers in 2020, he's been regarded as one of the premier 3-and-D guys in the league. You got Lou Dort, you got Jrue Holiday. But Alex Caruso, if he's not the best, he's definitely right behind maybe an OG Anunoby, maybe a Mikal Bridges, maybe a Jrue Holiday. And Alex Caruso, with his time during Chicago Bulls, specifically last season, averaging 10.1 points, 3.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists, converting 46.8% from the field, 40.8% from three-point land, and converting 76% of his free throws. And if you take a look at his accolades, he made the all-defensive team twice. And going back to the bubble championship with the Lakers, I know this isn't a Lakers YouTube channel, but the one thing I'll never understand is when NBA teams, when they win a championship, but they don't run the team back. And I mean, I get it. They kind of want to get ahead of things. So the general managers and probably the presidents of the team, they want to get ahead of things. So they try to trade players away. They try to get younger. They try to get more cap flexibility. I get it. But there's one part of me that's like, if I was on that championship team, I would want to repeat. I just want to see where I stacked up against the rest of the league. Now, again, every season, teams keep getting younger. The drafts, the players, they get younger and younger, it seems. So like I said before, I understand why teams want to get ahead of things, but you also owe it to your players to see if you can repeat. You also owe it to your players to see how high the ceiling can be for the team that won the championship. And Alex Caruso, man, I mean, again, depending on who we were going to give up, because in the quote from the article, it just says we had trade capital. It doesn't say any players mentioned or anything like that. Let's say we're able to retain OG Anunoby in free agency. So we retain OG Anunoby and we get Alex Caruso. Now, the season just ended last week, I think, with the Boston Celtics winning the championship. And ever since the season ended, we got rumors with Paul George, we got rumors with Draymond Green, we got rumors with Mikal Bridges, and now this little nugget has been thrown out that we actually made a bid for Alex Caruso. That's very interesting, man. I kind of want to do a little exercise right now. And all of the players that I mentioned, they are regarded as one of the better perimeter defenders. All the players that have been linked to the Knicks so far in this offseason, we got Draymond Green. And if you guys didn't check out that video of me talking about Bill Simmons did an episode on his podcast, and he completely just threw it out of nowhere, saying how, like, what would it take for the Knicks to land Draymond Green? And in the episode, Bill Simmons said that he would add Mitchell Robinson a contract and maybe a couple or 3 first-round picks in order to acquire Draymond Green. So I'm not saying this out of nowhere. There has been a source, and Bill Simmons, who is known to be an NBA insider, threw that out. So going back to the list, we got Draymond Green, we got Paul George, we got Mikal Bridges, we got Alex Caruso, which I'm talking about right now. Let's say we retain OG Anunoby. So we retain OG Anunoby, and he's not asking for some astronomical number. So now, I want you guys to think about this. Let's think about the ranking of who we want to be paired next to OG Anunoby. So we got Paul George, we got Alex Caruso, we got Mikal Bridges, and we got Draymond Green. So first and foremost, I think number 4 would probably be Draymond Green, and that's solely due to the fact of his age. Everything else that he has to bring to the team is invaluable. I mean, on top of that, like, he's going to be punching his teammates, so I don't think we want that on the Knicks team. I think I'm right. So Draymond Green would probably be number 4. And then the remaining 3, we got Mikal Bridges, we got Alex Caruso, and we got Paul George. That's interesting, man. That is very interesting. And if I'm going to be put on the spot right now, which I just put myself on the spot, I think I would, at number 3, I think it would have to be, you guys might kill me, but I might put Paul George in that slot. Paul George, as much as I love his game, and as much as he's a revered player in the league, and as much as he's a bona fide all-star, a lot of the league is what have you done for me lately? And ever since Paul George went to the Clippers from OKC, what has he done for the Clippers? I get it. Kawhi Leonard handpicked Paul George to be his teammate, to be his running partner, but they have literally nothing to show for it. They went to the Western Conference Finals once, and Kawhi Leonard wasn't even a part of that team. He injured his knee, and I believe he was out for the remainder of the playoffs. So he wasn't even in the Western Conference Finals with a Paul George. But when he was with Paul George, they were down. They were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets, and they ended up losing. So again, going back to Paul George, I don't know, man. I can't go off of what he's shown me, because what he's shown me, he hasn't proven anything. If there's anything that he's proven to me, is that he knows how to not come up big when the lights aren't on the brightest. Okay, so Draymond Green at number 4, Paul George at number 3. At number 2, I think I would put Alex Caruso. I would put Alex Caruso at number 2, which makes Mikal Bridges at number 1. And the biggest reason I would put Mikal Bridges at number 1 to be paired up alongside OG Anunoby is more so to do with the chemistry that he has with the rest of the Nova boys. We already see what the chemistry and the camaraderie has done for the organization with just those 3 players alone. So now we add another Nova boy. And like I keep saying over and over again, one of the most underrated aspects of the NBA and building a good team, building a contending championship team, is chemistry and camaraderie. Look at the Boston Celtics. Look how long Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been together as the 2 best players on the team. They've been together at the hip since what? They both got drafted, essentially. Jaylen Brown has one more season on Jason Tatum. But they've been together for so long, and there's something about going through the wars, going through the battles that you actually break through. And we also got to highlight the age. Alex Caruso is 30 years old, whereas Mikal Bridges is 27. So there's a 3-year gap. Alex Caruso is nowhere near the end of his career. He still has a couple or a few more years left in his prime, but that's another factor that we might have to add in, the age. Caruso being 30, Mikal Bridges being 27. But Mikal Bridges being at 27 and Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart all being around that age, like, it makes a perfect fit for Mikal Bridges. And after reading that article by Casey Johnson for Chicago Sports, where they were introducing Josh Giddey to the Chicago Bulls, something that I'm really noticing is the Knicks, they are active. They are very active right now in the offseason. I mean, OG Anunoby, Isaiah Hartenstein, they're in negotiations with the Knicks to re-sign. We got the rumor with Paul George. We got the rumor with Mikal Bridges. We got the rumor with Alex Caruso. We got the Draymond Green. Like, there's a lot of things that the Knicks are doing right now behind the scenes. And with the draft being tomorrow, I would not be surprised if we hear that the Knicks have traded for somebody. Maybe any of the players that Chris and I have been talking about for the last few days. And now I want to talk about a New York great, a New York legend giving praise to our very own Julius Randle. Kenny Smith giving Julius Randle praise. So Stephen Bondy yesterday published an article where Kenny Smith gave his 2 cents on Julius Randle and his impact on the Knicks team. A transformed Julius Randle can close Celtics gap after Knicks playoff success. So one of the quotes from the article that really struck my attention was, I think Julius Randle is good enough to be that. I think the best thing to happen is for Julius to get hurt and see that some of the responsibility he thought he needed to have, he doesn't. And some of the responsibility he couldn't take, he should. And so his game will change next year, and I think it will make him a much better player. Now, in the myriad of videos that I've put out ever since the Knicks have been eliminated from the playoffs, the one thing that I've been mentioning was how it looks like Julius Randle from the beginning of this season, it looks like he's been accepting of that number 2 role. And before he injured his shoulder, and when OG Anunoby came to the Knicks via a trade deadline, I think the Knicks, I think their record when they were all 3 of them were healthy, I think it was something like 14-3 or 15-2. And you could just see the camaraderie and the chemistry building. You could see how everything was just flowing. Julius Randle, it looked like he was like totally fine with letting Jalen Brunson cook and letting Jalen Brunson just be the man on the team. And then whenever Julius Randle needed to step in and just do his thing, he was able to do so. And it just gets me to wonder, man. It really gets me to wonder about how the Knicks were. It really gets me to wonder that if the Knicks were healthy, just how much of a competitive series it would have been against Boston. I don't think the Knicks would have won. It might have gone to 7, but I think the Knicks would have gave Boston a really good competitive 6-game series. And like I just said, I'm not saying that the Knicks would have won, but at least it would have been competitive, as opposed to just sweeping the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Final and having a cookie-cutter road to the NBA Finals against Dallas. Now, something else that's interesting in the article that Kenny Smith talked about was how the Knicks fare against the Boston Celtics. In the article, Kenny Smith says their 5th best player is the best player on a lot of teams. Kristaps Porzingis, and at times, he's their 5th best player. That's what makes them at another level. You really need personnel to beat the Celtics. Right now, the Knicks are close. They're definitely a 4 seed, a 3, or a 2. I mean, obviously, being the Eastern Conference champions, everybody's going to put the Boston Celtics at number 1 in the East for next season. Like I said, Kenny Smith makes a good point. What separates the Boston Celtics from the rest of the Eastern Conference, honestly, Boston is in a class of all of their own. Like everybody else, it just falls by the wayside. But what separates Boston from the rest of the Eastern Conference is depth. I mean, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown unquestionably are the two best players in Boston Celtics. But then look at the rest of the players. You got, like Kenny Smith just said, you got Kristaps Porzingis, you got Derek Wright, we got Jrue Holiday. We got all those players. They know their roles, and if anything, they're probably all-stars in their roles. Jrue Holiday is one of the most underrated. I mean, I don't really know if he's underrated anymore. I just feel like the interviews that Taylor Rooks and Malika Andrews do with the NBA players, whenever the question is asked of like who's the most underrated defender in the league, the number one answer everybody gives is Jrue Holiday. So I'm not sure if he's underrated anymore. Jrue Holiday's specific niche is being a defensive animal and not shutting down, but making life miserable for the best offensive player on the opposing team. Look at Derek White. Derek White is another player just like Jrue Holiday. Whenever he was put in a position to add a little bit more of an offensive output, like he was with the San Antonio Spurs, like they weren't really doing anything. They weren't really making any noise. And Derek White, yeah, he was getting good numbers, but it wasn't really leading ultimately to anything. And we got to wait and see how these contract extension negotiations are going to look like. Because ever since the NBA Finals ended, Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, they were given the okay to talk to the Knicks to do contract negotiation extensions. So we got to see what happens with Julius Randle, if he's going to extend his contract and stay with the Knicks. Because I don't know, man. Depending on the moves we make, if we get a Paul George or, I don't know, if we get a Mikal Bridges, I'm not a fortune teller. I could just go off of what the rumors and everybody linking this player to that team. I could only go off of that. But I think it's safe to say that if we don't get anybody this offseason, a Mikal Bridges, a Paul George, I think next season is going to come down to it just if everybody can stay healthy. Of course, I like seeing the Knicks being active and trying to entertain this player or that player. I like seeing my team trying to better themselves and trying to better the team and the roster. Of course, I love to see that. But if I'm being honest right now, like, I think I would want to see this team run it back, but just pray to God that everybody stays healthy. If we run the same exact team back and everybody's healthy, we don't know what could happen. The injury bug hit us incredibly hard, but maybe the injury bug could hit the Boston Celtics. Maybe the injury bug could hit the Milwaukee Bucks, the Philadelphia 76ers, all the other contenders in the Eastern Conference. Got to throw Miami Heat in there as well. Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson. I mean, those six players alongside Isaiah Hartenstein, if everybody was healthy, like, look at how weak the East was this past season. Look how cookie cutter the path was for the Boston Celtics going to the NBA Finals. Like, you just never know, man. And like I said earlier, as much as I like my organization being aggressive and pursuing players and trying to better the roster, like, being aggressive is great, but if you're being too aggressive at the expense of what we already have a nice nucleus. We already have a nice chemistry and camaraderie. So if we're gonna sign and trade with a Paul George, if we're gonna get a Mikal Bridges via trade, and we're gonna get rid of one of our players that has been a part of the core, and yeah, we might get better talent, but with better talent doesn't mean that the chemistry is gonna be the same. There's just a lot of different questions that are in my mind that I'm literally just talking about right now. I'm having like a stream of consciousness, but it's just interesting, man, how the Knicks are in a really good position, man. The Knicks are in a really good position. If everybody's able to stay healthy, we never know what can happen next season. But guys, that's it for today's video. I want to say thank you so much for checking it out. Make sure to leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about the Knicks actually dabbling in the Alex Caruso trade before he went to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Also, let me know in the comments what you guys think about Kenny Smith's comments regarding Julius Randle. Do you think he has a point? Do you think that maybe the Knicks are another piece away? They need to add to the core of Brunson, Dante, Josh Hart, and OG. Do you think Julius Randle could be a part of that, or they need to move on from him? But that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you for checking it out. Leave it in the comments. And, of course, you know the drill. You know the vibes. Taj Gibson for president. Jalen Brunson for MVP. The deuce is loose for co-MVP. Smash that like button. Smash the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Always, always, always. Chris and I are putting out videos like crazy. And the draft is coming up tomorrow. So Chris and I, we might be hopping on a live stream. But until next time, guys, I'll check you out in the next video. Peace.